All right, guys, we're back on the Yugo for hopefully what I think will be the final video before we get this thing ready for sale. So stay tuned. So the goal for this video, at the end of the day, we want to be able to get in this thing and drive it around the yard. That's the plan. So in order to do that, we have got to do a couple of things. One, we've got to get the brake master cylinder bled with the new reservoir on it, which I do have right here in this box, compliments of Allan from Compa's Garage. He says there's a little bit of a gift in there too. We'll get to that in a little bit, but so we'll get the brakes looked after. We've also got to put some oil in the transmission, which it calls for straight 40 weight, which I cannot find anywhere. We're going to use 30 because it'll be fine. And then once that's done, we've got some little things to do, like get the bumper filler and the bumper back on it. And guys, this thing should be ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to get to work getting that master cylinder put in there. But before we do that, we've got to open this box, make sure that we've got the right master cylinder, and see what gift Allan has sent us. Let's take a look. Okay, so we're gonna get this thing opened up and see what we've got inside, because we know one of the pieces is the brake reservoir, which that looks interesting. Let's take a look here, see what we got. It's all wrapped up in Piggly Wiggly bags or whatever you got here. Oh yeah. Yep, so this is what we were looking for. The original one that we took out of this car, one of those nipples was broken. So that will do, Pig, that will do. Let's open up this bag and see what he's got here. It's like a flag and some stickers. Yep, there you go, guys. Compa's Garage. Make sure you go check them out on YouTube. I will leave a link right up here. And there you go. That's his Yugo, and that's him sitting in the passenger seat, or driver's seat. Pretty cool. And then we've got what looks to be a Compa's Garage flag. Oh yeah. Don't worry, buddy. We'll get that hung up along with the rest of them. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I offered to pay shipping. I offered to pay for the part. He wasn't having any of it. I really appreciate that, Allan, being able to get this car put together finally. And for all you guys who don't know who Allan is from Compa's Garage, he's got a big Yugo project that he's been working on. Initially, it was something that the two of us were supposed to compete against, with me building this car before I found out it got a little bit out of hand. But anyways, Allan's got a message. I'm going to insert that here, and I'll be right back with you.
Hello, Canadian. Moonshine from the motherland, smuggled in. What's up, Jason? What is up, man? I hope everything is going well with the Yugo. I see you're putting it together. It's almost done, as I can tell. I did send you the part that you need. As you know, between two of us, we have 10 Yugos here. I only mess with the fuel injection ones, are the best ones made. The ones I mess with, believe it or not, go 100 miles per hour by GPS. 5-speed fuel injection, 1.3, best Yugos ever. I was kind of sad to see you backed out on the project that you're doing, but I understand why you did it. There's a lot of fabrication that needs to be done on these cars, just because they're so weak. The body's so weak, you have to reinforce the heck out of it. Especially my plan that I'm doing right now. It's going to be an oval drive, 500 horsepower minimum, Mitsubishi powered 4G63 engine. It's super heavy engine and transmission, so I have to reinforce the heck out of it. Just a lot of fabrication needs to be done. So I understand why you backed out. But it was funny that day you called me out. I was laying on my bed watching TV and I got a notification my phone that you put out the video, so I transferred it to a TV. And once you called me out, I kind of had this little laugh, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta beat this guy. There's no way in hell I can let him win. So I posted that video on Facebook, and in an hour I had 3-4 messages, people offering me money, sending me money, Venmo me. My sponsors, thanks to them, they've been with me for a while. I appreciate it again. They sent me money and said, you know, you cannot let this guy win. Whatever you gotta do, do it, but do not let this guy from Canada beat. So I went crazy, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go do something more than I expected to do. So here I am. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to drive this car this year, but next year 100% it'll be done. I am planning a trip with a bunch of Yugo guys from Iowa, Chicago, and then we're gonna end up to Canada, probably Niagara Falls, if I'm saying that correct. I know you're on the other side. I don't know if we're ever gonna be able to stop by, but I would like to. I wish you all the best with all the projects you do. I understand why you backed out. You had no chance. I'm just kidding. Or am I? I sent you a few things that you can remember of me, the guy that was gonna whoop your ass. No doubt about that. I'm confident. So yeah, peace out, man. I wish you all the best. And for people watching Jason, please like, share, subscribe to his channels and mine as well. Compass Garage. I took a little break from my YouTube as I'm running 2 channels. Watch, share, it means a lot to us, guys. Peace out till next time. I'll be talking to you again. Yeah, and you had no chance, by the way. You had no chance. You knew that. I'm just kidding. Or am I?
Yeah, I really think that at this point I understood, probably right from the beginning, even though we did a lot of trash talking back and forth, that Allan was going whole hog. He had a heck of a lot more support behind him to do that build and go as whole hog as he wanted to. And I thought it was just going to be something as simple as, you know, let's do an engine swap, we'll stiffen it up a little bit, and just full send. And at this point I do realize that with or without the help of his friends and sponsorships, he likely would have kicked my ass anyways. But it would have been fun. It would have made for some great content. But as I've said before, Allan's got skill set a lot higher than I do for doing this sort of thing. A lot of fabrications involved. These cars are very, very weak, so they need a lot of work. And I can admit that I just don't have that skill. Anyways, the skills that I do have is hands-on, wrenching, stuff like that. And that's what we've got to do to this car to get it ready for sale. So let's get back to work. Again, thanks a bunch, Allan. You guys go over and check out Compass Garage. That's in now. I guess all we can do is put some fluid in it and see what happens. Okay, so with that reservoir in, we got it topped off full of fluid. There was some bubbles coming up through there, which is great. And all 4 bleeders broke free. And that's amazing. This is 1987. Guys, we're going on close to 30 years old, but take a look at these back brakes even. Look, just as free as can be. So we're gonna get this brake bled and start here, work our way around, but I wanna try and gravity feed the brakes first, so I'm gonna get the brake pedal depressed, let some of that fluid flow, and hopefully make this as simple of a process as it can be. My wife is over there working on the headliner for the 50 Plymouth, so I can recruit her as a brake bleeder when I need to, but in the meantime, so in Canada, we have tons of these cheap little wooden scrapers for cleaning snow off. It works perfect as a self-bleeding kit. We got it propped up against the seat here, pressing on the pedal. That'll open up the master in hopes that we'll start to see some fluid dripping out of all 4 corners, because they're all open right now. Once it starts dripping, we'll close them all off except for the right rear, and then we'll actually do some bleeding over there. On this side, it was a little bit different story. There's no fluid coming out of there yet. I got the brake bleeder out, and I'm not sure if you can see it or not, if it'll focus. But that one is plugged. So we're going to see with a drill, we're going to take a drill bit, see if we can't unplug that and get some fluid. It should start coming there now any moment because she's opened up. But let's get that brake bleeder fixed. All right, so we got the two front brakes, brake calipers, somewhat bled, just gravity bled. They're kind of just dripping on their own with the bleeders open. We got them closed now. And the two rear ones, we've got no fluid coming out of yet. So what we're going to have to do is go get the bleeder suction thing and get that started to help move that along. It doesn't seem to be doing much. In the meantime, guys, if you don't have your mag rags, yeah, I'm going to leave a link below in this video. Get your magnetic rag. That's right. That's all the red rags you've been using all along. Got a magnet sewn into the corner. And they are always right where you left them. Make sure you check out MagRag. This is not a sponsored video, but when you do buy them, you are supporting a Made in America company and made by veterans. Check them out. Okay, so now that we've got our colon cleanse from McDonald's and a little bit of Joe Rogan on the TV, we're still having a little bit of trouble getting these back brakes bled. That's a little bit of a mouthful. I've tried that 2 or 3 times now. Let's take a look. I'll show you what's going on. So we've got this Mighty Vac brake bleeder. And when we hook it up to the nipple here itself, it's not creating a good seal, but it is trying to suck air through, but it's not pulling any brake fluid with it. I've never liked this particular brake bleeder. When we use it at the shop, it just does not work very well. I don't believe I've ever used it and had success with it. So I don't know if we got a problem with it or we got a problem with the lines. Maybe the brake hoses are collapsed here. But when I come up front and crack open the brake line to the rear and I get my wife to press on the brake pedal, fluid comes out of the master cylinder. So I think the master is fine. I just think that we've got a problem here in the back somewhere with collapsed brake lines or something. So I think the next step is to get the brake line off here and see if we're actually getting any fluid dripping out of it. If we don't, then there could be something wrong with the actual brake cylinder itself. Either way, we've got to start tearing things apart, so I'm going to get that brake line off. So what's that telling us right there? Well, there's fluid coming there now. Huh. Well, we know we've got fluid coming from the brake hose, so let's see if we can't get the wheel cylinder off there and see what's going on with it. After several beating attempts, that thing came off. You do not have to take that spindle off there. That seems to go fine. And the emergency brake is operated separately on that cable. And when you pull that cable, it pulls the brakes apart mechanically, not hydraulically. So the question is, do we have any we have a problem with our cylinders? And I think we do. So what we're looking at here is our brake cylinder, and there's a gap between the shoes and the little pistons that pop out. So we're going to take this apart and see if we can't get that freed up. Hopefully we can. Hopefully it's not totally seized. I got nothing here to replace it with. But worst case Ontario is we put it back on and we still have no brakes. Anyway, let me get that off. So I just realized that when I hit the record button to stop that it wasn't recording after all and I started it. So we did get this out and these two pistons are seized in there. I'm guessing it's the same problem that we're having on the other side as well. So let's get it over to the bench and see if we can get this apart and get those pistons freed up. All right, so we've got the cylinder in the vise here, so we're going to try and clamp onto it here with some vise grips and see if Oh yeah, that's a good sign. That'll move. So if that one will move, we can get it taken out, flip it over the other side, and try the same thing. And hopefully we can salvage this wheel cylinder. Oh yeah. These will salvage. So if we can only get them out of the cylinders themselves, we'll be able to take them out and clean it up, take it to the wire brush to it, put it back together, and hopefully get these brakes working. We'll do the same thing with the other side. We'll be right back. Okay, so we got this cleaned up, and as you can see down in there, she's pitted up pretty good. See if I can get a better shot of it here. She's pitted up pretty good on that inside edge. So what I've been doing is I've been taking a piece of sandpaper, flat screwdriver, and I've just been kind of sticking it down inside there and getting the screwdriver to go down into that corner as far as it can, and then just kind of cleaning it up all the way around. And I'm not sure if you can tell, but on this one, it cleaned up that surface quite well all the way around. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray some penetrating fluid in there, and we're going to go hook it back up and see if we can actually get some movement on these. I'm going to take the wire brush and clean that up pretty good. Kind of like I did to this one, once we get the insides cleaned up on this other one as well. Really don't want to have to buy these. I'm sure they're cheap, but because they're Yugos, and they would likely have to come out of the Texas Yugo store, we're probably talking at least a week away, if not a week and a half away, to get to Canada. So I'm going to continue trying to clean these up in hopes that we can get them back on the car and get those cylinders moving again. So even though this one's cleaned up on the inside, I'm going to spray it down with some penetrating oil. Hopefully that'll help break up any of the rust that might be on the inside there. I can't seem to get it apart. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but maybe we'll take some compressed air and blow in here. Maybe that'll move them as well. Anyway, we're going to get this one cleaned up as well, and we'll check back with you as soon as we figure out if we can move ahead. So what we're going to do is we're going to spray some compressed air down through the top here in hopes that it pushes those pistons out. At the very least, maybe one side, but if not, we might be boned. Anyways, let's see what happens. Nothing. Nothing. Nothing on the back side either. Well, crap. I know that we can get a lot more pressure on the actual brake line itself versus air, but I'd have to install them into the car, hook it all back up again, and then try bleeding the brakes again. But I think that's where we might be at. Let's try the other one and see if it works any better. And there's part of the problem too. That bleeder doesn't seem to be bleeding. All right, well, let's get these put back in the car. We'll run some drill bits through those bleeders and see if we can get those working. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go apply the brake and see if we can get a little bit of movement out of that piston. Let's go try. Probably didn't move any, did it? I didn't think so. Well, we're not getting any movement, so I think it's time that we got to say goodbye to these cylinders and get some new ones coming. I was hoping it wouldn't come to this because I really wanted to take it for a drive. But not saying we can't drive it with just front brakes, because apparently, according to this, it's what we've been doing all along. So we're going to put this back together for now, get those drums in there, tires back on, and I think we're ready to take this thing for a little rip. What do you say? So I was getting the back down off the lift. Go figure. And that's when I realized I hadn't put the transmission fluid oil, whatever you want to call it, into the transmission. So I found the fill port, which is right there where that black hose is. And I've got my small funnel inserted into the black hose. And from what I gathered, this transmission calls for straight 40 weight. Nobody in town has straight 40 weight. We're going to use 30. Should be fine. And we are just going to pour it in ever so slowly because I have no idea how much it takes. And I don't want it to overfill because if I have to pull that hose out, it's still going to have some oil in it. And so we'll just top it up until we make a mess. Are we showing any signs of overflow yet? No. I only got 4 jugs, or 4 liters. Hopefully this is plenty to do it. Oh, there we go. There we go. You're not dripping on the camera, I hope. So now we gotta take this out, let it drip all over, make a mess. Get the plug in, and we'll tighten that up. So while we're down here cleaning up our mess that we made, we're seeing a little bit dripping on the floor, and it looks like it's coming out of this that axle. So maybe we just don't have, I don't know what size that is, 13 maybe? Maybe we just don't have those tightened yet. Well, it seems tight, but it's leaking. How come? Dag nabbit. 2 steps forward, 1 step back. That's not going to stop us from driving it today, folks. We're going to get this thing off the jack stands, take it for a rip around the yard, and then we can get this thing over to the shop, get it up on the hoist, and work on it standing up as opposed to crawling up and down on our back. So let me get this thing off the jack stands, get her started and warmed up, take it for a rip. And we got our bungee straps to hold the battery in. That ain't going nowhere. Reach in, touch the gas. Every time. So we were getting ready to back this thing out, and I couldn't get it to go in gear. You probably heard it grinding. Well, I did not adjust that clutch cable properly, or at all, I guess. Anyways, we'll get that adjusted, we'll back this thing out. So it wasn't the clutch adjustment at all. It ended up being the clutch itself was, well, had stuck itself to the flywheel. So what we're gonna do now is we're gonna let this thing warm up, and we're gonna take it for a rip around the yard. So it's gonna be a little bit difficult to do this, holding the camera, manual transmission, and no power steering at the same time, but we're gonna take this thing for a little lap around the shop. Hopefully everything works good, and if it does, we'll throw a plate on it, and maybe we'll just take it for a quick run up the road. Temperature seems to be coming up, but she's a chilly day. It's probably hovering around 2 or 3, like it's low single digits Fahrenheit. It's like -11 Celsius with the wind. It's chilly. Anyway, let's take this thing out, see if we can't see how far we can go. Driveway is some icy. We've rolled about 40 feet. So far, so good. Oh, that's the exhaust slapping up against the floor. She's not quite warmed up yet, so she is going to be a little bit herky-jerky. But we're driving it. We are driving the Yugo. And this is exactly what we did when we first got the thing, was drove it around the building when we got it running, got the gas in it, and I'm pretty damn excited. So I'm just gonna have a little bit of fun rolling around here. We'll see you guys in a minute. Well, we've got a couple little things left to do to this thing. We've got to get those rear brakes looked after. We've got to get the master cylinder replaced. I was talking to Allan, and he says that, you know, majority of the time they rot, and when you have to take that brake fluid reservoir off, yeah, chances are it's not going back together without leaking. The axle seems to have stopped. Again, talking to Allan, he says when they're up in the air and they're tilted back, the fluid's rushing back there, they do tend to leak. It's a Fiat, poor Fiat design axle or setup, but nevertheless, he said when you put it back level, wipe it down and check it again. Well, we took this thing for the drive, we come back and there's no leaking. So we're probably okay with that, to the point where I'm just going to say I'm okay with that. He did suggest putting 2050 oil in it. That stuff is about $10 and change a quart. Takes about 3 quarts, 3 and a bit. So again, that'll be another 30 something, 35, 40 bucks I've got to spend on it. But I probably should put what he recommends, because he's kind of the guy that knows all about that stuff. Even though the manual said straight 40 weight, I didn't even do that. I put 30 in. So it's an easy change. We'll just drain it out, put that in. Other than that, there's a couple little things which I may or may not worry about. The exhaust is just hanging there, and if you really come onto it and the engine rocks a little bit, it'll come up, smack the floor. You heard that in part of the earlier video. The fan, I didn't get it warmed up enough to see if the fan was working, because driving down the road, I mean, it's cold today, boys. I don't think she's going to reach the temperatures it needs for that fan to come on anyway, but we'll do another startup and warm up here in the shop and make sure that that fan is working. I think it's going to at this point, because I got both wires hooked up now. And a battery tray. We've got to figure out something as far as a battery tray, and we do have a template for that, because in that battery tray there's a little plastic tray that sits in there, so we kind of know what we've got to build. Should be pretty easy. Other than that, I'm happy with getting this thing back together, so much so that when I drove it, and everyone's like swinging their necks around, looking at it as I'm driving by. You know, not that I like the attention, but when somebody notices something's different. These cars are certainly different. There's a lot of people who don't even know what they are or ever heard of them, let alone probably ever seen one. You know, I've got mixed emotions on whether or not I want to sell this or if I want to keep it, but it was meant to be a project car. It's no longer meant to be a project car, so I can't keep them all. And the next video that you guys see will be a for sale video on this, or an update on the sale of this video. The reason why I say that is because I've been talking to a fella who's showing some interest in it. And if he wants to buy it in its current condition, I will sell it. And therefore there won't be a for sale video, because it will likely already be sold. And we're trying to work out a new project that involves the gentleman that is interested in buying this. I don't want to disclose too much, but that'll be an upcoming video, which may entail a pretty significant road trip. If you guys haven't yet, hit that like button. Make sure YouTube knows that you enjoyed this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that as well. We're on a quest to 100,000 subscribers. Hoping to get there this year. Probably not gonna happen, but if it does, it'll be pretty cool. All it takes is one breakout video. I'm sure this Yugo is probably not going to be the breakout video it needs, but we got a couple of things planned in hopes to get the Olde Carr Guy brand out there. I end every video with stay focused on the windshield, not the rearview mirror. I love you guys. God bless. Let's do it again real soon.